Hey guys, I'm Chelsea and this is A Very Bookish Girl. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and if you're new, hi. So, I've been really horrible about actually recording videos, and I know this is an excuse, but I did just move. As you can see, I'm back in front of my bookcases where I was not in front of my bookcases. Actually, you know what? I didn't post that video. Just kidding. I recorded it, but I didn't post it. Maybe I'll give it to you guys later. Anyway, so today I'm going to go over my October wrap-up. I read, let's see,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
9 books and 3 comics. So I started off this month really strong, and then it just kind of pittered down with the move and everything. But the first book that I read this month was There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. Now, I got this book, I pre-ordered it before it even came out, so I was super excited to read it, and then I started hearing everybody talking about it and how it was just not good and blah blah blah, and then I finally got it and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna read it, and I had the best time reading this book. So if you hear people giving it crap, I would take it with a grain of salt. Yes, it is more Scream-esque, but I mean, that's what this book was like advertised as being. It's not so much of a thriller as it is kind of slash and gore, oh my gosh, what's going on kind of thing. I had no idea who the killer was until it was revealed in the book. And yes, it happens about 3/4 of the way through, but that gives build up to the rest of the stuff that happens at the end of the book. And I thought it was a lot of fun. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars, purely because I don't usually read thrillers, but it kept my attention. It was super easy to read. I had no idea what was going on, so I mean, it's worth the read. I definitely think it's worth the read. Okay, so the second book that I read, I actually finished from my library, and I've already turned it back in, but it was Dreamology by Lucy Keating. I'll try and put it right here. So it's about this girl who's always had these dreams about her, like, perfect guy, and they would go on crazy adventures and all that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden, one day, he's real, and he's no longer a dream, and she needs to figure out why that's happening. And then their dreams start going crazy, and it was just a the premise of the book I thought was really great. Like, it was really cool, but then it honestly, like, it really started to die down for me. I listened to it in audiobook so it would, like, keep my attention, because I was having a really long drive when I was still working and not living over here. But I just, like, towards the end, I was like, I just want to finish. I'm done. I couldn't honestly tell you how it ended. I don't remember right now. So that one I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. It, like I said, it was creative. It was interesting until the end, and then I just was done. The next book that I finished this month was Moxie by Jennifer Matthew. I actually buddy read this with Becca over at My Life as a Sports Fangirl. I'll leave her blog below. It was so much fun to read this book with her. It's a modern day feminist novel about this girl who finds her mom's, like, old Riot Girl zines, and there's a lot, like, a ridiculous amount of sexism in her school, and so she decides to bring it back, and she makes a big revolution with it. And it was a fun read. It was awesome. I love the girl power in this book. I hated the amount of sexism. The amount of stuff that happened in this book that went unchecked by adults was absolutely unacceptable. But like I said, in the end, it was a great book. I loved it. I loved the girl power, and I loved how strong these girls were, even though their school absolutely sucked. So I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 just purely because, like I said, I hated the amount of sexism, and I thought it was a little bit too much. But it was still a good read. Definitely fun. Super easy. I recommend it. And then I finished Snow Like Ashes by Sarah Rosh. Yeah. And this is the first in a trilogy. I'm actually waiting for the third one to show up today, and the second one's in my November TBR. Like, I loved it that much, guys. And I don't usually read fantasy novels. I'm very big on, like, just contemporaries. So the fact that this book pulled me in and I was hooked, like, instantly. There was action going on. There's no build up. It's just like, boom, we're going. And stuff happens. And, like, constantly I'm just being thrown for a loop, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's actually happening. Wait, what a minute, like, this is what's going on. Absolutely awesome. So this is about a 16-year-old girl named Mira who She's one of 8 survivors from winter, which was overthrown by spring, and they are with the one surviving heir to the throne, King Mather, and like they're trying to make their comeback and to save the rest of the Winterians that are enslaved. And there's magic and there's fighting. Read it. It's so good. I can't wait to read the second book next month. And now that I'm gonna have the third book, I'm gonna have to finish this series. Like, I don't finish series that often, and this is gonna be one that I'm gonna finish. So obviously this was a 5-star read. Alright, and then for the second time this year, I finished Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. Now, this time around I actually listened to this in audiobook because it has a full cast for the audiobook, so I couldn't say no to that. And it made my reading experience like 1,000 times better. Like, I fell in love with Ezra and Katie so much more, and I still don't like Aiden. I have read Gemina, and you'll see that I reread that too, but like, Aiden creeps me out so much. But I love this series. It's freaking amazing. In this one we follow Ezra Mason and Katie Grant. Haha, I remembered it's not on the inside. But, so you follow Ezra and Katie, and it's multimedia, so there's text message, well, it's not like text messages, but it's messaging, and there's pictures, I'm holding it the wrong way, and so they're living on this planet that's been attacked by a corporation, and they're fleeing from essentially this corporation following them and trying to kill them, and you follow them. It's like for almost a year long that you follow these characters, but it's such a great read. I know it's like 600 pages, it's a huge book, but it was absolutely amazing. With the full cast audiobook, I highly recommend. If you've read this book, still try the audiobook because it just makes it that much better. So, of course, I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. And then I listened to Gemina by, of course, Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. So this one follows 2 separate other characters from the first one. This is Hannah and Nick, and they are on Waypoint Station Heimdall, which is where they have a wormhole, and that's where Katie and Ezra's group are trying to flee to in the first one. So you get to see what's going on there. While they're there, there's I think it's Nova Day. It's a big celebration, and Baytech, the company that destroyed the planet in the first book, takes over Heimdall and is essentially trying to screw up the wormhole. And there's other things going on that I don't want to say because it ruins the first book, kind of. And then, again, it's multimedia. It's super awesome. And this one is also full cast for the audiobook. So, again, listening to this audiobook made it a million times better, and I cannot wait for Obsidio to come out now so I can have the third book. 5 out of 5 stars. And then I finished Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad that I finally picked up this book. It was so awesome. I love Audrey. She's such a great character. This takes place in the 1880s, and it follows a young girl named Audrey Wadsworth who is super into science and forensics and anthropology, and she is secretly studying under her uncle, who is kind of like a big... He doesn't work with the police, like he's not police, but he works with them to help solve murders, and all of a sudden the Jack the Ripper cases start showing up, and so they've got bodies, and they're trying to figure out who Jack the Ripper is, and it follows Audrey and Cresswell. Oh, Cresswell. He's so arrogant, but he's so smooth. I loved them together. This one I kind of had an idea of who Jack could be, which, yes, they do actually solve the case. I had it narrowed down to 2 people, so I absolutely thought it was awesome. The ending blew my mind. I can't wait to read the second one. I actually went out and picked it up before I was finished with this one because I was so excited. I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars just because sometimes I was like, bleh, but it was still really good. Really good read. And then I started this back for I Sat Rat, and I didn't finish it, but I finally finished Fruits Basket, collector's edition 1, so this is actually books 1 and 2, so I think there's 10 chapters in this one, and it's about this girl who loses her mother and starts living in a tent, and it turns out that she's actually on this family's property. They take her in, but everyone in the family is a member of the Chinese zodiac, and when they're hugged by the opposite sex, they turn into that animal. So crazy things are happening, and I actually ended up only giving it 3 out of 5 stars. It's not that it wasn't enjoyable, it was definitely enjoyable. I liked reading it. I just had no idea what was going on. I didn't know what was going on like half the time, and I was just like, ugh, where am I missing things? It jumped around. I was like, I don't know what's going on anymore. So, unfortunately, I only gave it 3 out of 5. For the comics that I finished I Hate Fairyland Volume 3. I actually rented this from my new library. They have so many comics on their Hoopla app. I was like, yes to all of that. So, I finished I Hate Fairyland Volume 3 by Scotty Young. If you don't know what I Hate Fairyland is, it's absolutely amazing. Hold on. So, I own Volume 1 and Volume 2. These things they're hilarious. It's about this girl named Gertrude who gets sucked into fairyland, and she can't actually find her way out. So it's like 30 years later, she's still a 7-year-old girl body, and she's trying to find her way out of fairyland, and she's evil and just horrible. But in this third volume, she decides that maybe being evil isn't the way to go about it, and of course, stuff ensues. So I definitely gave it a 5 stars. It was just as enjoyable as the other two, and I can't wait to get my hands on Volume 4. And then the second comic that I finished this month was Paper Girls Volume 1. I own it. I don't know how many. I own some of the Paper Girls comics because I do collect some comics. I don't have very many, but I haven't ever read them. They're still in the plastic. So I rented, of course, the bind up from my library, and it's 1 through 4. And if you don't know what it's about, it's set in the 80s, and it's about these like 12-year-olds that are out delivering papers, and they stumble upon something that's going on, and crazy things happen. And again, it was something that I was like, what the hell is going on? I don't understand. Graphics were really great. The characters are I like the characters. They're not likable per se, but I like them. But I think I gave it 3 out of 5 stars because, again, it was just something I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea. I was completely confused. The last comic that I read this month was Giant Days Volume 2. I have read the first one. Giant Days Volume 2, just as good as the first one. It follows these 3 girls that they're in university because they're actually not in America. They're overseas in Europe, and it follows them. And this one is like the winter time, so it's like their Christmas break. One of the girls gets into problems at home, so the other girls go to visit her, and then there's a big dance. And it was so much fun. It was really good. And of course, I love the bright colors and the pictures, so I ended up giving that one another 5 stars. And then technically, I haven't finished this yet, but I'm going to finish it tonight, and tonight's Halloween. I'm not doing anything because I'm a cool kid. But I'm going to finish #famous, and this is by Jilly Gagnon. I think I've got, like, not very much left of it. I've been reading this since Sunday. This is part of my Lazy-a-thon. It was hosted by Dylan the Reader. I'll link his YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and everything below in the Lazy-a-thon Twitter. There's no challenges. It's just from this past Saturday to this upcoming Saturday. So that's the 4th at 5 your time. You just read whatever you want to, whenever you want to. So this was one of the books that I put on my TBR, and I think I've got about 150 pages or so left. And this book is Alex from Target. That's what it is. Like, there's this boy, and he works at this burger joint, and this girl takes a picture of him, puts it on the internet, makes a comment, and then boom, all of a sudden he's all over the place, and he's going on TV shows, and the girl is getting so much hate. So yes, I haven't finished reading this yet, but it's probably going to end up being a 4-star read. I really love the characters. They're really likable. I don't like some of the writing style with Kyle, which is the boy. It flips back and forth between the guy and the girl. And poor Rachel. Rachel is getting so much bullying in this. It's absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. And I hate it. But I think it's going to end up being 4 stars. So, yep. So these are all the books that I read in October. I'm actually really proud of myself. I didn't think that I would get that much read with moving and everything. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I promise I will be making some more soon. Bye.